Hello and welcome to another episode of The Modern Nerd. I am Sir Slice 13,
I'm merchandise.
And I'm GJC.
and we are, as always, massive nerds. So, we have a few reviews today. Before we get to the reviews, I want to say thank you to both of these two fine gentlemen you are seeing on the screen for doing all these podcasts with me. It's been much appreciated. I love all of this and really look forward to doing them every week. So thank you, George. Thank you, Dan. And thank you to everyone
welcome.
else that's watching. Everybody here watching live and everyone that tunes in on the YouTube channel. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
We heart.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Make sure if you are enjoying this, like and subscribe. It's enjoyable too. We have a good time making them. We hope you have a good time watching them. So, that being said, Prey and She-Hulk are on the menu today. Now, there's 2 episodes of She-Hulk that came out, and Prey is a little bit older of a one, but we all watched it, and I believe this is one of the few times that in podcast history where we can all say we all really enjoyed this movie. I hope I'm right. But Prey is a very long ago prequel to the original Predator movies. It's on, what the hell's it on? Hulu for you guys?
Hulu.
And if you're in the UK, it's on Disney Plus. So definitely give it a watch. So if you haven't, check it out. Spoilers. We're going to be doing all that. But yeah, Prey. Who wants to go first? Anyone?
Sure, I'll go.
Bueller?
It was fun, man. They finally did it. A fucking good Predator movie. I mean, you could argue with the original is good. It's like good in a very like Arnold Schwarzenegger 80s action movie way, and in that way it succeeds. But as an actual movie, it's like it is what it is. And this, to me, felt like a real movie. That fuck character development. Let's do the thing. Let's show lots of metaphors, lots of animals eating other animals, and let's get right into it. Like we don't know like any of her other we barely know any of her tribe besides her brother and just like the douchebags surrounding her brother, and that's fine. Like it just went. It's like she's like there's something out there and I gotta kill it, and off she went, and what a ride. Best action movie I've seen in I don't even know how long. The choreography was brutal and violent and extremely satisfying. Gotta love it. Haven't seen anything like that in a while either. It felt good to see a good action movie again. I thought I was getting it in The Gray Man. I wasn't. I just hadn't gotten one in so long that I was like, oh yeah, Gray Man. And then I saw this and I'm like, oh no, this is way better. Like it wasn't anything over the top. It had a very, it's hinted at how she would take him out at the end. It was great. I don't have much else to say about it. I'm super surprised about the high critic score. I really would be intrigued to see what they liked about it so much, because to me it just felt kind of like a really solid action movie. Oh, I just thought of another one. Mr. Nobody is a great action movie if anyone's seen it.
I haven't. I want to.
Superb. A very unlikely main character in Bob Odenkirk. Great job. But yeah, I don't know. It did what it needed to do. It set goals and achieved them. It didn't, it didn't overstep. It was good. I liked it. Hooray! Good. A good Predator movie. Fucking finally.
Yeah. I'm looking at the director, and he's had an interesting little run.
What else has he done?
Not a lot. Kicking some short, Black Box TV, some short. He did 10 Cloverfield Lane. He did an episode of The Boys.
Okay.
Something
10
called
Cloverfield Lane was really good.
I enjoyed
one of the best performances by John Goodman I've ever seen.
All right,
George, what did you think of the movie?
That was a good movie. Which movie? Prey?
of the movie we're talking about.
Yeah. Or unless you're asking me about Clover Lane.
Yeah, I thought you were asking me about 10 Cloverfield Lane. I was
No.
I
like, what?
mean, we can
I
talk
like
about
Clover
that too
Lane
if you
too,
want,
but
you know, it's a great movie.
Prey. Yeah, I agree with Smarch. There was some really good action in it. I didn't go into it with very high expectations because it's a Predator movie, right?
I think that, yeah.
So that definitely helped set the bar pretty low. But you know, so I was pleasantly surprised. I agree there wasn't too much character development, but that's okay. The only character you needed to know was the main character, and she did fine.
Yeah.
Like she was, I knew enough about her to be invested and enjoy her, and you know, there's nothing wrong with seeing a strong like female lead like in a male dominated world and just be like fuck you. There's something satisfying about it, and she being like I want to go and fight too. You can easily relate to that and easily feel and sympathize for that. So that's pretty smart on their part to choose her as the main character. What else? Pretty gory. One of the more gory like movies I've seen in a while. You know, but that's to be expected because it's Predator. You know, so you don't go into it thinking enough like everyone's gonna come out okay. Like it's like going to a horror like Predator. The thing is I think Predator, maybe Aliens and Predators and that kind of genre. I mean, it's funny because when you do those kind of movies, when you say you're gonna do an Alien style movie, your question always becomes, how do I toe the line sometimes between is it going to be horror or is it going to be sci-fi or is it going to be a mix of both? How do I mix both together? Blah blah blah. This movie, for a Predator film and a Predator style film, actually is less of a sci-fi movie and more of a horror movie, kind of leaning in this. Sure, there's little things like he's got camo, he's got some cool technology, but other than that, he like very little. You know, it's mostly based. Notice this time around, he didn't use lasers. He used
it was
blasters.
like a laser guided.
Yeah,
like,
he just had laser guided bow and arrows. You know, so like maybe this
Bolts.
hunter when he was dropped off here was like, we're gonna give you these animals a fair shot. They're not like a very, you know, quote unquote dangerous.
It's also
Right.
you know 200 300 years before the first Predator movie, you know. I mean,
and then of course I can't end this without mentioning the cool gun that they get at the end. So that's a
the
good shout out.
flintlock.
What?
The flintlock.
The gun.
Oh.
The gun that she has at the end from the trappers is the same gun that
Yeah.
Donald Glover gets in the second one. That
Yeah.
the Predator throws to him in the second one. So I read a little bit about it in the direct, and when they made the movie, like the writers and the creators made the movie, they were saying like they knew they wanted to, like, when they were thinking about, okay, we're gonna do a Predator movie that's like a far prequel and like in the distant past, like what do you want to do it on? And somebody said right away, they're like, that gun has to come in play somehow, and then it grew from that gun's date to where they are now.
I don't know. Please.
To clarify what George is talking about, in Predator 2 with Danny Glover,
sorry, not Donald. Danny.
He is at the end of the movie when the the Predators come down and are like, oh, you defeated our guy, whatever, here's your trophy. Because what they do is they collect trophies. They collect skulls, they collect all the stuff and the spines and everything, and they give him this old flintlock at the end of Predator 2. And he looks at it and it's got like, you know, Alfred, whatever the frickin' name is. I can't read it on the gun because it's like etched in there.
Yeah.
And then in this movie, that's the gun she gets from the trapper, the French trapper, where he's teaching her how to use a gun. So what that implies is, and as you watch the credits, it implies they're going to make another movie where they get that gun back.
The gun goes back to the Predators.
Gun.
Oh.
Yeah.
That specific gun?
That exact gun.
That is the gun.
If you look it up, there's screenshots of the original gun, and like it's got, I think his name is like Alfredo something or other, and then you look at this gun at one point, and it says on the gun.
Yeah, at the very
Alfredo
end, when she looks at the gun, it says
the same
exact. A funny tidbit about this gun that's used in the Prey movie is actually when they first said, "Okay, we need this gun," and they decided they were going to build the story around the gun. They said, they assumed that, you know, studios being studios, somebody would have had this, like, the original gun, you know, in storage somewhere, locked up in the basement vault or whatever, right, for safekeeping.
Tell me they had to
couldn't
ask
find
Danny
it.
Glover for it.
They couldn't find the gun. Okay, so what the creators were on YouTube, and they saw somebody who was doing a podcast, who was a fan like us, and who had made replica guns, and he had that replica of the gun from the movie in the background while he was doing a podcast, and they reached out to him and asked him to use that one. And so the one that is being used in Prey is made by a fan who made it, who was a professional, like, you know, a fan who made replicas for fun.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I've got things. Guys, reach out to me. I can have stuff too.
Well, did you make them?
I don't have anything. No, not at all. I have Legos. Anybody want Legos?
Give them a break.
So pretty cool.
I enjoyed that cool. I enjoyed that little part as well. I like this movie a ton. For me, I still have a special spot in my heart for the original.
I like the second one.
And the second one wasn't terrible. After that, it got Aliens versus Predator, and then the Predators with, because those are all canon, technically speaking. Those are all part of the same unfortunate storyline. And then they made one not too long ago, didn't they? Oh no, maybe I'm thinking of.
I remember as a kid, everyone was talking about Alien versus Predator, so it is kind of nice to be able to see the two of them tango.
Yeah, it was a cash grab crossover. So
I think it was a good. I don't know. I remember it not being terrible. I remember that second one being atrocious.
I mean, like, as a child when we watched it was being teased a lot in the Predator movies, like, because you saw, when we first saw the Predator movie, we saw that he did have a what's it called, an alien skull. So like ever since then, like, people, when we were kids, for the longest time, people were waiting for that crossover, and it took them way too long, because had they cashed in on it early enough, it might have actually been good. But it took them well over a decade of Alien movies before they did an Alien versus Predator.
The problem was they did, like, they leaned into the Alien premise, like, as far as, like, let's build a cast of characters that you care about, where it's like, no, that if it's Alien versus Predator, just give me Alien versus Predator. Like, we don't need the rest of this stuff. It's not necessary. In fact, it'll probably save you a ton of money. You don't have to pay these actors a shitload of money because you don't need any of them. Saying that was my same problem with, like, Transformers. I don't need people in my Transformers movies. I don't need people in my Aliens movies. Well, Aliens is a different one, but in these movies, like, you need the people for what they got in this exact one. It reminded me a lot of the original, because it, like, if you remember the original, you've got a gang of mercenaries trudging through the jungle. Pretty much that's it. That's all you know about these people. Like, you don't care. You're not, like, sitting there trying to be like, oh, this one kid's son is special and he's the one that's gonna kill the aliens. I'm like, I don't fucking care. Just fight the alien, fight the predator, and move on. Like, that's all we wanted, and that's what we got. And it was awesome when she tied the rope to the thing, to her, like, hatchet, and was just, like, chucking it back and forth. I was like, oh, that's so cool.
Little God of War action almost. Like,
yeah, it was just a lot of fun. She was fantastic. I don't remember her name. Excuse me. But
both her and her brother were pretty great performance wise, I think.
Yeah.
Mm.
It was very enjoyable. The Predator looked a little, like, weird at a moment.
Yeah,
he had that long neck, but I like that they all look different, and it's not just, like, the same one regurgitated, which I kind of like. I liked his when he had the mask on. I think he looked cooler than when he had it off.
I think this is the first one to really look different. I think they've all looked pretty similar up until this point.
You can tell differences.
The differences have been very slight up until now. This is a very far and away difference.
Predators had a very different looking one. They had
I didn't see that one.
But and plus they had, like, dogs.
I do like
the problem with Predators was they literally tried to make Arnold again with Adrian Brody. They gave him literally the same lines. It's like the classic, and I'm like, you can't do that. It's not the same person. What is you?
Is that the one where they dropped on a, like, in the jungle on a planet?
Yeah, on a different planet. Like the concept of all
It's
of these
cool.
movies,
They're all really
is
cool concepts.
super cool.
Yeah.
It's just
One of my
Execution.
one of the cool things I really like is like, I mean, like, I love world building, so I do like the story behind like how the predators and how the aliens all kind of came to be, and like how their interaction with the humans and stuff like that. I really think it's a lot of cool stuff, because like like the lore is that like the predators used Earth as like a staging ground for hunting aliens. So they would bring in eggs every like so often, a few hundred years, and use the pyramid to test out their young warriors.
Yeah,
that was a really cool
predators.
Yeah, that was a really cool concept. Like, all their concepts are great. It's just that the execution isn't always amazing, and mainly because it's a human issue. I have to agree with Tim on that.
Yeah,
it seems to be a human factor that makes the movie not as good, right?
Yeah. It's always
the ending kind of reminded me of Apocalypto, when he's hunting everyone and using his environment, and she did as well.
Yeah, she did a great job.
Apocalypse was a great movie, and at the ending is the best part, which is always, as you know, important to me. And he like uses his environment to take out his foes, and she did as well. And it's like something, it's very satisfying to watch.
It was kind of cool to see him fighting
that bear. Yeah, thank you, George.
It was kind of cool to see him fight the bear. Like, to really, really like. I feel like, maybe is this? I never thought of Predator. I guess that they're strong because they can take on an alien, obviously. So a bear is relative size and strength to that. But like, I also kind of wonder if because of the different look of this Predator and how the fact that it's 200 years in the future, or in the past, I mean, for them and for humans, that maybe this Predator is a slightly like older version or primitive version of.
That's very possible.
That they evolve at a different rate, and so like this is like 2 generations of predators before what we are seeing in Arnold's movie,
maybe that's why some of his technology was different.
Yeah,
you know,
I have a theory.
Like, they had space travel, but they didn't have like some other things as well.
All of their technology is the same every time we see them, except what they do is they're challenging the predators they put down by giving them weapons. So like they had like the laser blaster for this time period in the 1700s, but they're like, look, man, you're gonna go fight people with flintlocks. You just get the one that shoots arrows. You know,
exactly.
That's my theory.
To make it a more good hunt.
They're fully advanced and choose to.
But I mean, like, not necessarily
give them
technology,
an advantage,
but like advances in like genetically, like. Is he like a Neanderthal version, a slightly, or like a, Neanderthal version of a predator that we're used to seeing, because he looks slightly different.
Yeah. I would really like to see in future movies the predator, get tested more, and for him to have to use like more cerebral style hunting and not so reliant. I mean, maybe it's because he's used to his technology, so he's not used to adapting as much. But we saw him, I don't know if this is for sure, but what it seemed like to me when he fought the bear, it seemed like he lost for a second, but I think he was like playing possum.
Yeah.
Like, so that that was like him using his brain to defeat the bear. And like, I want to see more of that. I think that, that's what they're known for, is like adapting to like, the style of hunts. I would love, because obviously their technology is like a huge leg up. So let's have their brain be tested. Let's see how good these predators really are. I hope we see that.
I do too. I hope that I hope they do. I hope they do the sequel. And I hope it works. We're not asking for like a bar way up here like the Predator movies. Just give us what, like, if it's the same as what we got this time, just with like a small progression of story, done, sold.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
The problem with big successes on smaller movies is that they tend to attract a lot more of it's that, or they
somebody else,
with a bigger contractor, so the producer comes in and thinks they know better and makes decisions for them that don't necessarily benefit the movie. So I hope that doesn't happen, but it's likely. We'll
see. Agreed. Go see Prey if you haven't. It's worth watching. You can watch it at home. A resounding thumbs up from all of us here at the Modern Nerd. So we are now on episode 2 of She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. Every time they say that, all I can think of is Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law. Like, I love it. I love that show so much. It's so absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, the slightly more serious show. We have 2 episodes. One is an origin story, and one is basically setting up what the show is going to be about, which I think they did pretty good. They did well. Man, I can't speak good English today's.
This show is not serious, by the way. I don't know why
No,
you said
it's
that.
slightly more it's slightly more serious than it has more tone, like more implications than
I
that.
don't think so at all, but I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine.
The other one
Not
was
the
just
tone.
loosely based.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
who cares?
yeah.
So origin story. Now, I was asked immediately if that's the proper origin. I honestly don't know if that's her comic book origin. I haven't looked it up.
I'm guessing no.
No.
Yeah. I've read several She-Hulk comics. I do know
Original
that
origin story is that she got shot by somebody who she was prosecuting, and then she needed a blood transfusion, and Bruce was the only one.
there you go. So this is a fine. Like I'm always usually okay with the change of origins. I'm never like super picky about that kind of stuff.
It works fine.
It works for
right off
this.
the bat, Tim, was she doing a Deadpool style, like talking to the reader / audience in the
which is
comic
like
books?
what it is.
Yeah,
in the
she
comic.
did. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. Not everyone writes it that way, but some of them do. The more popular ones.
Okay, what brought around that choice? I wonder.
I don't
I
remember.
can tell you.
Okay.
George is
because
the She-Hulk expert on this one.
It's because it's a fun, witty lawyer show.
No, like in the comics, he means. I think.
I was just curious. Like,
it's a fun, witty lawyer show. That's the idea. Is like her. This is Marvel's take on a fun, witty like lawyer show. And I'll give you another great example. Is that a shout out if there is an Easter egg when she's at the bar in the second movie, and the TV is on. Ally McBeal is playing.
That's hilarious.
So breaking the fourth wall is very common in in funny, witty comedy lawyer shows, and that is the style that they decided to go with in comic books, and therefore it carried on the show. And I think it's clever.
Well, to me, it's a big deal. This is the second comic book character to do this, really, and the other one being Deadpool. And I kind of feel like
it makes before Deadpool.
Really? Oh, and I was talking TV, but that's fascinating and interesting to know about the comics.
Deadpool didn't exist until the 90s.
Interesting. I mean, it makes me want a Deadpool cameo really badly. I know it's not going to happen, but anyway. So
who knows?
Fun, witty lawyer show.
The first episode, you didn't get a whole lot of the fun, witty lawyer part of it, which honestly, I think it was a good setup for the show. It kind of really set the tone for everything, with the banter and how she's kind of, she's giving Bruce shit. And like, I like that, like, Bruce is trying, bless his heart, he's really trying to help, but he has no idea of anything of the female perspective and like how to go about helping someone else. And I think that scene where he's explaining you need to control your emotions and your anger and everything, and how she's like, look, this is what women do on a daily basis. Like, they teased that in the trailer, but like way she breaks it down, like, I can paraphrase it, but it's like, like every day when I'm catcalled, when a man tries to tell me my own area of expertise, and all that stuff, that like she has always learning how to control her anger, and she shows that by at the end of her sentence it becoming She-Hulk. I think that was a nice punctuation to the point, is like, look, I'll do it right fucking now if you want me to do it. Like, yes, she's angry, but she's intentionally getting angry and intentionally showing that she can change into She-Hulk whenever she wants, which was, I think, a really nice visual exclamation point on the end of that sentence. So
most powerful moment of the show thus far, and I'm very that elevated the show for me, that moment, and it's a great moment for just Marvel in general. And I was wondering how, I found myself being like, how can she do this? Like, why is she able to do this so easily? And she explained it, and I immediately had like a huge moment of clarity. And I think that's an important thing for just men watching this show to realize. And I thought it was very well done, and I was grateful for it.
Yeah. It was very good. Yeah, it was a nice somber moment in the middle of the episode, which really kind of like set the tone. That's where I mean, where like you're gonna get more of this type of stuff in here than you will in Harvey.
It
Birdman.
was very needed.
Yeah.
Oh, you're comparing it to Harvey Birdman.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like Harvey Birdman was that. This is like emotion. But there was a lot that happened for me in that first episode, and there again, all of these, they're going to be 9 episodes, about 30 some minutes long. So you're getting like, a lawyer sitcom, like George was saying. They gave you the couple extra episodes to keep them roughly the same amount of time, because as George has explained, these are not. This one's a little bit more episodic, I feel, so far than the others. It's more TV show than the other ones, but they're still probably going to be, a broader movie feel going into them, which I've accepted now at this point of the Marvel shows. But you get your first look at Jamila Jamil as Titania, whatever her name is. Which was fun, nice to see. She's going to be recurring, I believe, in the show. She's one of the main villains, however we're going to do it.
She actually, there was a brief little cameo for her in Miss Marvel. Actually, I saw something online where Miss Marvel was like her character was in the background of one of Miss Marvel's.
I like it
because she's like a social media star.
Yeah,
the villain is a social media star, so that's how.
Yeah, she's. I believe what they're poising her to do is to try and be like a superhero advocate. Like she's trying to probably has her heart in the right place, type of villain. But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I hope so. Those are always very interesting to me. So
that's
good.
I think it was a lot of fun. Like the training montage obviously was cool. I want to say this. She looks the CGI looks better than it did in the trailer. The original trailer. The original trailer looked god awful. And they did some touching, and I get that you can't really redo the whole thing in the amount of time that we all complained until now. They can't Sonic the Hedgehog this, which is fine, but they they roughed up her skin a little bit more. Before it was like shiny and neon, and now it's a little bit more toned back, which I think helped a lot. And it looks nice, a little bit better and a little bit more pleasing. So I've moved past that and I've accepted it. I don't know. Anything, you guys, any more on the first episode? I'm sure there's a bunch that we're missing.
I mean, so I'm a huge Hulk fan. Everyone knows that. I was pretty excited for the show. I still am. I think it's fun and paced very well. And I, there's always something that bothers me, but they either acknowledge it or I'm willing to accept it and move on. There's things like, there's stuff like Hulk getting owned by a Jeep, which I'm kind of like, okay, you could say he was trying not to mess up, his cousin, but he could have stopped that without hurting her. And I'm just like, you can't help but think about the time he took down a gigantic flying. Yeah, okay, but like he doesn't.
That's his only vehicle in the.
I suppose, but he didn't really seem to care about anything else. He was wrecking everything else.
Except his bar. He cared about his bar.
Well, that was an accident. That's fine, but it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But that being said, I'm still fine with it. I'll say it every time. I miss the Hulk. I love Bruce, and I don't know if we'll ever see the Hulk again, which kind of breaks my heart. But Smart Hulk is interesting, and it's good that she has kind of someone she can talk to about this, and it's I think I kept being like, how could she possibly be a lawyer? But it's answered in episode 2. I'm in. It's fun, and it's they're jokes, and I don't understand why she would say her name out loud to a bunch of people, but that was a choice that she made. People make mistakes, and that's.
I mean, RDJ did it in the first Iron Man movie.
Yeah, that was, I think, conducive to his personality. I didn't really see that from her. She didn't want to be. She wanted to be a
Well, I
lawyer.
mean, how is she going to
and
hide
this
who
was-
she is?
Yeah, like she did
She
it in
literally
public.
turned in
Everybody,
front of everyone in front
I
of
can
public
acknowledge that.
knowledge.
Well,
in the
you also could
courtroom.
say they could easily have been like, oh, they didn't see her change, which I'm sure I would be here complaining about as well. But either way, she made the choice. I was slightly annoyed at first, but it led to something, and that's all that I really care about.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, yeah,
for
the whole
everything,
point
Yeah.
is that she's living the life as She-Hulk. Her
yeah,
It's-
it's interesting. I don't, I, all that to say, I'm
Were we
in.
accused of trying to mansplain her emotions? No, that was talking
No,
about Bruce.
we were
Talking
talking
about Bruce.
about,
Okay.
yeah.
It's
I had two things to say. Oh, a few things.
first
I had-
episode only.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm good.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
wanted to say.
want to say shout out to Inside Out and Bing Bong. They brought up Bing Bong from Inside Out, which is hilarious. It's just kind of funny because it's in the Disney family. You know, it's always funny when like people in Marvel talk about Star Wars, right? And you're like, yeah, that other movie franchise that Disney owns.
You own.
And then also they pointed out the ridiculousness of the lullaby. Sun's
Yeah.
getting real low. Sun's getting real low. Like,
Getting real low.
how does it work? I don't know. He doesn't even know how it works. See,
We don't
even
talk
he can't
about
fucking explain
lullabies.
it. That's
It
how
was
fucking
pretty much-
ridiculous it was. They thought it was hilarious. They thought it was
Yeah.
funny enough to put it there. And then finally, of course, the credits. The credits
Dan,
are
you
great,
saw
and the
both-
post-credit
you saw
scenes.
the end credits.
Of course, I did.
Oh,
The post-credit scenes.
I saw the post credits of the first one. Did not see the post credits.
Second one had post-credits too.
Second one is a short, so we can tell you when it gets there.
That's fine.
Post-credit. I like how like the styling of the credits is like drawing, like
Yeah.
room drawing style, which is really cool. And
Yeah.
then I like that they in that first credit they teased the cousin, because in the credits you could see that she's going to be at like the credits kind of show what's going to happen in the next future episode. So the credits had a
Yeah.
picture of him and like her at the family dinner. And then we had
I
that
mean, it
annoying
looks like
cousin
they're
that comes
in-
in the second one is like sitting there and she's just looking at him. It's fun. Yeah. I just thought it was
That's funny.
funny.
It's good. Yeah, I think that was a really. I thought it was a fun post-credit scene. Because it was just like Captain America bugs, and you're just like, all right,
Yeah,
that's fun.
great.
It's just character.
now
for
we
her,
know how
which I thought
Captain
was
America
entertaining.
lost his virginity. It's
Yeah,
great.
that's
And
become like a big.
it's the
takeaway,
first
which is annoying.
Disney anything I think to drop the F-bomb, from what I heard.
Well,
Right.
Well,
attempt
they
to
didn't,
drop
though.
the F-bomb.
Well, but you know, as close to it as they've ever
dick
gotten.
move. I thought that was fun.
I don't think they've ever gotten this close to saying the F-bomb on
No,
any
um,
Marvel.
Samuel Jackson got that close when he was
it-
dusted.
Yeah, he did.
Mother.
Mother.
But that's
Um,
okay. That's Samuel. Yeah, I guess you're right, man. Samuel Jackson, you're right. Was it as close as this though? How much of the F?
Oh, it was
No,
closer.
No, I think this
Mother
one was
fuck.
closer. Yeah, she got
Because he
a
said
bunch of
mother. I
U's
heard
out.
mother, but I don't know
He
if he
went
got
mother.
the
He went mother F. She went mother F. So
yeah, she got
not
the
mother,
U
but
part
she
in
did
there.
first.
She
Yeah,
just didn't get
right.
the
Yeah.
part in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe.
This is as close as it's gotten.
This is important stuff we got to talk about, guys.
Yeah, we're getting there. I like that they had like that little like that Bruce really, you know, the connection he had with Tony in building it, and like how like you can see
He's
the
still
Tony
traumatized.
behind the scenes, but like Tony cared. You know what I mean? More than like
Yeah.
he just like more than this exterior of who he was, playboy, billionaire playboy philanthropist. He cared about his teammates.
And Bruce
you know?
is
He
still
tried to help
traumatized.
Bruce
You can
and all
still
that
see
stuff.
that he's like
Yeah.
feeling the loss still. You know, like it's
Yeah.
still fresh.
Big time.
Ugh.
So
Can we talk about the
then,
second one now?
Yeah, so then we
And where
drop
the fuck
into
Bruce was going?
the season 2 or episode 2. We'll get to that one.
Ah.
I can tell you. Oh well, so my theory in the first one when they get derailed, because that's what happens is this same ship drops down and and they didn't fly off the cliff and then the blood trickles into. That was the thing. When I first saw that, I was like, oh, this is a Karen ship. Like from the Planet Hulk comic book, that time that he spent on Sakaar, he essentially took a wife as Hulk and had a child named Scar, Skaar, not to be confused with the planet Sakaar. It's really clever names they're getting here, people. But it was a really interesting book that was written. So I'm hoping that they're gonna bring that character in because they can use him as like a Hulkling type character. Either they'll do a Hulkling or they'll do Scar, I think, for the Young Avengers is what I think they might do. So that's my theory on the matter, given my previous knowledge. I think the Scar route would be a lot more risky because it's not as well known. I feel like people read Young Avengers, not as many people read I guess Scar becomes Hulk at one point, like it takes over for the Avengers. Like it's a whole convoluted thing that Marvel does every couple of years. But that's where that ended. He was flying off to that. I'm like, maybe he's gonna go talk. He's like, I have pressing matters. Maybe he's gonna go talk to his kid. Maybe he's gonna. Who the fuck knows what's gonna happen? It's kind of exciting. But did you guys see the other things that they're dropping in this episode? So you've got like the courtroom thing that happened in the first one, and then she basically gets fired in this one because they're like, we can't have that. Like we lost the case, blah blah blah. So your liability, and it spends most of the episode about her trying to find new work, and then being presented with it by GLK and H, who I looked up. I don't think they have too much. I don't know anything about them,
I know something about them.
She's given her first case is Emil Blonsky, the guy who tried to kill Hulk back in The Incredible Hulk, which was a fun little tidbit as well, where Hulk is like, I'm a different person now, literally. And I was like,
the law firm is actually
not
named after the original writers at Marvel Comics. It uses Stan Lee's real last name. It uses all the original guys who were the original writers. It's like a little nod to the original writers from Marvel. It's from the original comics too. So
nice.
I just remember something.
So where was I going?
I was just gonna say we can continue, but before we get into it, I just remembered something, and something that it kind of raises the question. So Bruce and Cap were clearly talking about past lovers at one point. Does that mean that Bruce's lover is out there somewhere? I mean, they can't have had that conversation about that and him not talk about, the woman he loves, aka Thunderbolt Ross's daughter.
Yeah, Betty.
So I don't know. Yeah, so like, is Betty out there? I don't know. That kind of brushed over that. I wonder.
I mean, Incredible Hulk is canon. Like, which people just completely
you wouldn't have
forget
Abomination
all
without
the
it.
time. Exactly. Right. So
I'm really glad Tim Roth is still in the role.
Betty is still out there.
Sounds different. It's a different accent than the first one.
It is, and I'm okay with that. Things have changed. It's not even still, the original actor of the Hulk. So things are different. That's fine. They gave Abomination a makeover as well. I think Tim Roth is. I don't know. That one scene with him clearly being, charismatically manipulative was tremendous. I can't wait to see more of him. I think he's great.
So 2 triple big nuts points. So when Bruce and Cap were talking about this, it was when Bruce was already like starting to get involved. This was in Age of Ultron, right? When they're starting to get involved with Widow. Isn't that when the conversation at the bar after the flirting? Isn't that what we're talking about?
Yes, but I'm just I was just saying it's clear to me that at some point Steve revealed to Bruce that he lost his virginity to someone, one of the ladies. So I would think that Bruce would be talking about his past lovers.
He could be talking about Widow. That's fair.
He could be, but I would deduce at this point it wasn't. I don't think there was ever anything fully fleshed out between Bruce and Widow. I mean, from what we know, I mean, maybe they could reveal that there was more than what we saw, but from what we know as an audience right now, not a lot there. So I find it hard to believe that he wouldn't talk about Betty if she exists in this universe. If that movie is indeed canon, then I would think that yes. And if
it's
so,
a funny thing that they've never brought
her?
Betty back again. And I think maybe they're just waiting for the right moment.
As long as it's not Liv Tyler. Just somebody else.
I have no problem with Liv Tyler.
I don't know.
Betty's anyway. The big takeaway from this is 2 separate moments in the one scene that Tim Roth is in. He mentioned his 7 other friends working for the government. He is
Oh, I missed that.
legitimately talking about
the
the
Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts,
Yeah.
like the Marvel version of the Suicide Squad. So like it's been mentioned, like basically officially mentioned, that there's like a group of people who are also inmates working for the government who are all like going on these missions and shit. And I'm like, that's fucking awesome. You're just gonna drop that in episode 2 of She-Hulk, like just tuck it in the 5-minute scene that Tim Roth has. So yeah. Um, Before we get way off of She-Hulk, because we haven't really talked about her at all in episode 2, um, her she's hired because they want She-Hulk to be the face of the superhuman law division in GLK and H. And on surface value, it does come up to it appears to be, as she's mentioning the whole time, just like like a circus show. Like she's just someone to put on a face. And like, did she get hired because she's the She-Hulk, or did she get hired because of her law abilities? And we want to hope it's because of her law abilities, but given the guy's conversation when she walks right into the his office, he's like, oh, and fire this guy and tell him this, and like make sure you say that it's like some snark comment, and you're like, what the fuck, this guy's an asshole. So hopefully it is a little bit deeper than just like, oh, we want a superhero to be our lawyer. But like, obviously I feel like she's gonna show that she's more than just green skin and giant. So I think that's like the point of the show for me. So I really like this second episode, which is fun.
Yeah, she didn't do anything physical in this episode besides change back and forth. So and it still was good. So
yeah, it was good. A good character, which I think is a lot of what these Marvel shows is just introducing us to this character to get to know who they are and see the little growth that they can give us in these 6 hours or however many hours they're giving us for the shows. But episode 2 was cool. I think because it gave us more of it. George,
I like we got to see more of like her family and like her and the people in her family. I like that they started to ask her questions like she was already part of, like she was already an adventurer. They're like, about that Hawkeye guy, does he like have to go back and collect all his arrows?
Good question though. Good question.
And which they answered in Hawkeye.
There's a giant fucking arrow in the middle of the Brooklyn Bridge. What the hell's happening?
Wouldn't you go back and collect them? I would. I don't know.
Go back and collect every one of the arrows. So it was pretty funny.
I mean, if we're gonna open that door, we gotta open like the Spider-Man question, like who's cleaning up the webs? Like, is there
all the webs disappear?
Oh, that's the whole thing. Is they dissolve in an hour?
They dissolve. Yeah, they dissolve eventually. Don't you remember that?
They say it in like every movie.
They say it to Donald Glover, dude. When Donald Glover is being webbed to the trunk of his car in that first one. And he's like, they'll dissolve in a couple hours. Yo, you're back.
Well, now I'm gonna make sure they hold it. Dude, I feel like that's a rule they would break. You know what I mean? Just for like, it's been sticking around. Like,
I'm sure you could make a web that lasts longer, but he doesn't. So
think about that is something they point out in the first movie. They're hanging. What if a cop or someone doesn't show up within that hour or two?
Right.
Fall. I've always thought that.
I broke my back. All right. Anyway,
I have ice cream in the trunk. That's right. I have ice cream in the trunk. You're a bad guy. I don't care. He's like, you deserve
some advice.
You
need to get better at this part of the job.
You're a bad guy. He's like,
man.
There's so many.
I really like it because, like, to Tim's point is that like when she's talking about like why are they hiring me, is it just because I'm the Hulk, and she goes through all that, and now everybody in the office is going to be looking at me just because I'm like, I'm the Hulk, and like they all think I don't deserve this. I think it's a very a very common thing probably that like women go through in the legal profession, in any type of profession.
And then she just
goes, like,
I'm more of an anti.
Yeah, like like not just sexism, and it also, I mean, I think anyone could relate to that, right? Getting a job or doing something, being hired or being promoted to do something, and then you're not sure if you deserve it or not, right? So I think that part was really, really nice, the way she explained it. She's like, now everyone, like, we've all had that anxiety of like, okay, now everyone's looking at me like I don't deserve this, or like I'm just getting promoted because of nepotism, or whatever it is. So luck, if you will. I think everyone could relate to that. That was a very nice point in the second one.
I like that he then goes, and what do you think about it? I'm more of an agnostic.
Yeah, agnostic.
And now I'm going to be worrying about that the rest of the year.
Yeah, if a woman's being is pretty, it's automatically considered the reason why she's there is because it's because she's a woman and she's hot. So it's not, you know, it's a double standard. It's not fair. No one ever thinks like the hot girl at the office deserved to be there. You know, that's like the whole concept. And for her, it's not because she's quote unquote hot. It's because she's the She-Hulk, and she feels like people are just going to say that she doesn't deserve to be there. And the only reason why she's there is because she's a superhero. You know, not because she's a good lawyer, which she is. I don't think they would have just like asked
she had a pretty random to do
she it. You could tell she has a very like keen legal mind, because as soon as Lubotsky was like, the government was the one who gave me the serum, and she's like, what? She obviously was like, wait, and then you're telling me that the serum is what caused you she already had a legal theory as to how to defend him immediately within 5 minutes of a conversation with him. So you could tell she's very keen on that, and she's obviously well qualified, and it's going to be great to see how she uses that, I think, as her main as part of her tool set is probably going to be more important than her actual physical skills. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited.
A lawyer show. I like that we got, if it depends on how much of Incredible Hulk they're using as canon. Are they just saying like those events sort of happened, or did they happen and it's, you know, verbatim? Like, who knows? If it's verbatim, what he said isn't entirely true. Yes, they jacked him up with super soldier serum, but he didn't become Abomination until the other guy, Mr. Blue, whatever they fucking call him, I can't remember his name, gave him what was in the Hulk, and so then that turned him into Abomination. So, you know, who knows? I mean, it's interesting. It's also, I find it interesting that she went from, I believe, a defense lawyer to a prosecutor, or
yeah,
I guess she's a prosecutor to a defense attorney.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
that's
she switched.
not typical at all. But I mean,
it's
clearly she's not being hired.
It's not unusual.
Yeah, like
a lot of people do that. A lot of prosecutors end up going, you know, to work for private firms and become.
Yeah,
that's not unusual.
She's like, I'll take it, but
I mean, some of the best, I would say, some of the best defense attorneys actually used to be prosecutors, because they know what to do and they know what the other side is probably going to do. So it's not a bad idea. You know, it's not uncommon.
It's clear that the guy hiring her has some sort of ulterior motive.
Yeah, he has no interest in using her legal abilities. She is like purely a prop, and I mean, I hate to say it, even though like that's what she's thinking, and it's sad. Like, but the fact is like, everyone in the office thinks that she's a prop because the boss who hired her thinks she's a prop. Like, they have no interest in her legal capabilities. They're like, okay, we don't know if you're even a good lawyer. Like, we just know that you're a lawyer and also that you're a She-Hulk.
He did say when he was, you know, reaching out to her, and this could just be, you know, corporate speak for this guy, but he was like, look, you had a good case against us. Like, you built a really good case against us, and you probably would have had that one won, and that's why he hired her. So
like the reality
that's what he says. I mean, it could be, but yeah,
that's
Signat has a good point. I like how she has to pay her bills at the same time. Yeah, she still needs to pay her bills. That
raises a lot of questions.
How does anyone make any money doing superhero stuff? Right.
Like, I get that later on, like, people were on Tony's payroll, but that wasn't always the case. Like, I think that needs to be explored much more.
I think Bruce gets money because of teaching, and also because of research grants and things like that. I'm pretty sure Bruce is also getting paid by S.H.I.E.L.D. and the government to do gamma research and things like that. Like, as a
people we've met, I mean, it depends.
How anyone else gets paid, I don't know.
I mean, Natasha is a spy. You know, she's on a payroll. So is Clint. You know, Cap works for S.H.I.E.L.D. He was a soldier. He's still getting the payroll. Bruce is the big question mark because he was like a fugitive. Spider-Man's in high school and eventually becomes a photographer and actually has to like struggle. That was like the
that's like part of his story though, right? And that like makes sense. But there's a ton of
Thor has no use for any of this crap.
Yeah, so how is he?
Whatever.
How is he getting by?
What do you mean how he's getting by?
But he just goes to Asgard and gets whatever he wants. You know?
Yeah, but before Asgard, what was he doing? You know what I mean?
What do you mean, like, what was he doing? He was Thor. He was always in Asgard. It's Thor.
Not all the time. Like, there were times where he was on Earth. Like,
he was on Earth when he was living off of freaking what's her name, of Jane. He didn't have a job. Remember in Thor: Love and Thunder, he was staying with her and he didn't do shit because he was with her all the time and he didn't have a fucking job. That's what he was doing. He was squatting with
They actually
Jane.
explain it pretty well.
Yeah, he was living off of Jane. He had
Like
no money.
Ant-Man was a struggle because he didn't have a good job. He worked at fucking Baskin Robbins for a little bit, you know. And
what about like Sam and Bucky and like
Sam is on the payroll.
Sam's a soldier. Bucky was
on what's it called?
Experimented on for 50 years.
Yeah, Bucky was in the Wakanda, also living off of that Wakanda money for free for a while.
I don't know.
Look, you're not wrong, but
Wanda, like Vision, you know, just a lot of gray area. We kind of like, this.
Wanda has no need for money. She has magic. She can build a house on her own.
Vision has no need for anything.
Vision is a robot.
You guys are too loyal.
No, it's just interesting. I hadn't really thought about it.
I do understand.
MCU.
Smirch, I understand, man. I agree. I think a lot of them have decent explanations as to how they're getting by a day to day without money or without a paying job or where their income comes from. But I think it's definitely very interesting that it's like those are very special cases because they're like orphaned rich person or, you know, like been around for hundreds of years. So his bank account probably is pretty stacked, you know, like from just pure interest alone, you know,
is there an Asgardian agent,
so she probably has some
American
secret money stashed away.
Exchange rate? I don't think so. I don't know.
I mean, I've seen Futurama, and there's that episode where Fry went to check on his bank account, and it was like billions of dollars from interest accrued.
Yeah, but, there were. Anyway, it just means Thor was living off the kindness of Jane, which is like
he was.
Come on, man.
He was, and we saw that in Love and Thunder. Is that he was just living like with her and not doing anything,
right?
Or he could just zip back to Asgard when it was around and be like, "Cool, I'm just gonna go eat it at home."
It reminds me of what's it called? What's that movie called? Forgetting Sarah Marshall, kind of, where it's like she's like doing stuff, and then he's just like sitting at home and bumming around and not doing anything, and that's probably what's destroyed their relationship.
He was still doing stuff.
It's funny.
His work was just different. Okay, we could go on forever about the intricacies of getting paid as an Avenger.
I'm not even talking about Hulk anymore. My bad.
I think obviously we all say go see Hulk. Oh, the end credit scene was silly. It was just like her helping out around the house, literally as the Hulk and doing.
Her dad was like, "Will you carry these like 6 tanks of water stuff, like giant water cooler things into the house?" And she's like, "Why do you need 6 of these?" What you thought was going to happen earlier. She's like, "Why do you need 6 of these?" She's got like 3 under her arm, 2 up there, like carrying her.
I appreciate that you're staying hydrated, but this is a little extra.
Yeah, like.
Stay like Costco, man.
I forgot about the first one. Shout out to the credits, dude. They played Eve at the end of it. It was kind of spicy. I liked it. It gave it a nice I don't know.
What did they play?
Eve goes, "Who's that girl?" I haven't heard that song in a while, so I bet you that's going to be hitting the
so
charts.
Long I didn't even know who that person was. I was like, who? Awesome. So go watch Prey, go watch She-Hulk. Stay tuned. I think we're gonna maybe do She-Hulk every couple of weeks. Maybe we'll bring it to you in chunks because they're half hours. If it's something that we all really enjoyed and want to talk about, we'll bring you something every week, but we're not sure on that one. But true. So yeah, we had a good time. Obviously, we all agreed on this. So take us for our word and go watch these things if you haven't already. Thank you all for watching. And I forgot my exit. How do we end the show? What's going on, guys? Is this a podcast? I don't know what we're doing.
Keep it sleazy. Keep it breezy.
God damn.
I think you're just
a throwback.
You're fine.
It's a throwback. I don't even know.
Watching, and we'll see you around. See you next time.
There. You're fine. Whatever.
Some finger guns and a little peace sign, and then
I don't remember how I ended the show. Enjoy.
All right, good show. I'll see you guys later.
Oh, we have been the Modern Nerd, and thank you for watching.